the name Jamwant? I've always wondered that.
Jamwant is someone who was very good advisor.
Mhm.
He was the one who reminded Lord Hanuman of his past, and this resonated with us actually. I'm an ex-NDA, so in NDA, when I joined NDA, I thought end of the studies. In NDA, my CGPA was 4. When you're looking at some youngster coming to you with a certain idea, you have to be able to understand his risk. So I give that example that if you have 100 rupee, put 40 rupees into your fixed income debts, basically FDs and all. Take 40 rupees, put it into mutual funds or stocks if you understand stocks. Otherwise, it's like betting, so don't do that. If you understand, good. If you don't, mutual funds are a safer bet. But the 10 to 20 rupees, you should get into an AIF of what you understand, or the sector you believe in, or the sector which you understand.
The amount which I got when I retired, I've already put it in defense innovation, but that is because I was in the field for a long time.
And once you understand the risk, you understand how to mitigate it. Can you mitigate it?
Welcome viewers to the first episode of Startup Stories. We at Chakra Dialogues Foundation are working towards nation building and strengthening comprehensive national power. We've decided to have a series of webinars, which will be Meet the Mentors, where we'll introduce you some of the very eminent people who are the mentors at CDF. We will have the startup stories, and we should also have Tech Talk, where we should try and demystify technology. We decided that for the first episode of Startup Stories, to start up the startup stories, so to speak, we should have a startup who is helping the startups start up. So we have with us today SEBI registered venture capitalist firm, the Jamwant Ventures. We have one of the founders, Commander Navneet Kaushik, formerly in the Indian Navy with us. Welcome, Commander Kaushik.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure being here.
It's a pleasure having you here. But the first thing which I wanted to ask you was why the name Jamwant? I've always wondered that, because if you're talking about, shouldn't your name be Nandi?
Actually, I didn't go into Nandi part because Nandi is more stable and markets are more bearish, bullish. It keeps changing.
Yes, so Jamwant
But Jamwant is one
is
guy.
bearish and not bullish.
Yeah, but Jamwant is someone who was very good advisor.
Mhm.
He was the one who reminded Lord Hanuman of his past, and this resonated with us actually.
So you're telling the startups the power which they have.
Yes, we're reminding them of the past.
You're reminding them. Okay, very
And
interesting.
guiding them that the journey of entrepreneurship is going to be difficult, but you have it in you what it takes to be successful.
So you mentioned about the journey. So let's start with your journey. How did you get into this field, and why? I believe you're one of the very few, SEBI registered AIS which are focused on aerospace and defense. So how did you get into this? Could you tell our viewers something about that?
Actually, it's been a very interesting journey. I never thought I'll be doing this when I started. I'm an ex-NDA, so in NDA, when I joined NDA, I thought end of the studies. But actually, it was just the beginning.
We all think that.
We all think that, but it was just that the story. So, joined NDA, opted for engineering, did my BTech Mechanical from Naval College of Engineering, specialized in marine, went on to the ships, operations, maintenance, what a typical naval technical officer does. Then I got a call from my master's from IIT Kharagpur. So I did my master's in material science and engineering. And that is one time I realized that, in NDA, my CGPA was 4. When I went to IIT, I was really scared, it's not going to happen. But once I reached there, I realized that no, the forge has given us good foundation.
If you had a CGPA of 4, were you scared or was IIT scared?
I don't know. I have to ask them. So from there, I moved on, basically again on the ships, Navy. Actually, my whole journey has been curated by the Navy. So I handled projects. I was handling refits and repairs of the ship, around 400 crores revenue in South, in Cochin. That was one of my most learning experiences. Then I moved to defense acquisition. And then I was with quality assurance.
So that's a diverse background, which actually speaking is what the startups would need.
Yes. But what the cherry on the cake was, when I joined Technology Development Board, which is an autonomous body of Department of Science and Technology. I got absorbed.
This you did while you were in the Navy on deputation or after your retirement?
No, I took a premature retirement and I was absorbed in TDB.
Mhm.
And TDB is an organization which is into commercialization of indigenized tech.
Mhm.
From there, we used to fund anything from agriculture to aerospace. But what I learned from there was how to connect the dots. Like you have to, when you're evaluating a project, when you're looking at some youngster coming to you with a certain idea, you have to be able to understand his risk. And when I say understand risk, I'm not saying you don't have to take a risk. I'm saying you have to understand the risk. And once you understand the risk, you understand how to mitigate it. Can you mitigate it? And if you can't, there's some things which you have to take a leap of faith. Not everything, but at least 70 to 80% of the project you should be able to visualize. So either the founder is able to visualize or I'm able to visualize, and with my team that we are able to say, okay, this is doable. And there is a requirement because we come from the defense. So we generally understand what is the requirement of defense forces.
That's very interesting because, quite a few VCs whom I've spoken to and I interact with a lot of them, they're wary of getting into defense because that is a field which they do not understand. Not only the technology part, but also at a broader level, they do not know how defense procurement works, how the quality assurance works, the certification requirements, which is a very complex process. So I feel that some of for making anything work, you need to create a win-win where everybody gains. So I thought because I have recently taken premature retirement from the Navy, and most 4Gs, because they are not very well versed with the financial matters. So when they retire, they get that money, which is their, the DSOP savings or the gratuity, and they do not know what to do with that money. And most of them are aware of the fixed deposits and, the postal deposit scheme and the mutual funds at the most, but not many people get into angel investing. But I feel, having been in defense, the veterans are in a better position to select a winning horse. So that I think. What are your views about that? The veterans, do you think they can join you or invest a part of the savings? I would not recommend putting all their savings into this, though I have. You're aware, I'm the full amount which I got when I retired, I've already put it in defense innovation, but that is because I was in that field for a long time. And I have managed to convince myself that I know the field well.
But that is also because you know the field well. You know where it's going to work, where it's not going to work.
Yes, there's a risk in everything, but the higher the risk, the higher the returns. So what would you recommend for the retiring veterans when it comes to investment?
Definitely. So it's not only the retiring veterans. I would say rather most of the people who have a corpus and they want to save their money. So the corpus has two parts. One is you have to be able to retain certain corpus, and certain corpus has to grow. So I give that example that if you have 100 rupee, put 40 rupees into your fixed income debts, basically FDs and all. Take 40 rupees, put it into mutual funds or stocks if you understand stocks. Otherwise, it's like betting, so don't do that. If you understand, good. If you don't, mutual funds are a safer bet. But the 10 to 20 rupees, you should get into an AIF of what you understand, or the sector you believe in, or the sector which you understand. Because while after 5 years, if I compare to your 40 rupees from FD will give you around 60-65, at the best 70. You go to the mutual fund at 12%, most likely you will get around 40, it will become 80. But for the AIF, your 10 rupees which you have invested can either go to 7, 8, or it can actually become 100 or 200. So while the risk is very high, it's a really risky business. But if you understand the risk, it can be mitigated. If you understand the sector, if you go with the people who understand it, I think the chances of success are much higher. In this ecosystem, it is generally said in the AIF, in the startup ecosystem, success rates are around 20% of the investments which you make. 2 out of 10 companies are generally.
So would you recommend that if somebody is committing, say 50 lakhs, he should not invest 50 lakhs in one company, but maybe 5 lakhs in 10 companies?
Yeah.
Because the nature of the beast is that out of those 10 companies, you should be prepared that 4 or 5 or maybe 6, depending on how well you selected them, will fail.
Definitely.
But any VC is hoping that the 4 which do succeed will more than cover up the losses as compared to any other investment.
So they will bring. They are expected to bring back the entire amount with them.
Yes.
But what I say is, if you have 50 lakhs, put around 30, 35 into various different companies, 5 to 10 companies you divide, and then keep the rest of the money with the follow-on. Mm-hmm. If a company which you have put money in and it's being successful, you've seen the journey. Put more money because now his next round is likely to be better because now he has crossed the what you call the value of death.
So essentially, even when you're taking risk, do not take risks.
No, know what you're doing there.
Know what you're doing. So tell me, I've been discussing with some of the firms whom you've invested in. So I understand that it is not just, you have a very hands-on approach.
Yeah.
You have a very impressive list of mentors, both from the technology side and from amongst the veterans, the senior retired officers, who are helping you and helping the firms. Because a very hands-on approach in the sense that you do not just invest into them, you also then guide them, mentor them, and make them a success, because your success comes with their success.
Exactly. So we are part of the journey. We don't look ourselves only as the investors. Like the whole reason I started was basically when I was with Technology Development Board, I realized they're youngsters with amazing potential, and they're second to none. They're such amazing, what you can say, technology-wise. Some are very good at technology, some are very good at administration. But what we are looking for is one guy having all, which is generally doesn't happen. So we decided, like me, my co-founders, we said, see, if we want to make them successful, there is more than money. Money is required. Definitely, money is money helps. But then you also need mentoring, guiding. Like sometimes I know people are designing, right? They want to be special, so they do customization without realizing that when you go on a scale, when you're making something which is into lakhs of units, one customization is going to cost you, and that may not allow you to be competitive globally. Supply chain management, your inventory management, your processes setting up. I'm not saying you have to do it everything in the first year, but you have to know. You have to know where you have to go, and then the plans change according to what happens on the ground.
What's the process you follow for identifying, the potential startups to invest in, and how do you communicate this to the people who are, trusting you to handle their money, right? And final decision on where to invest, how to invest, how much to invest, that is with the individual, or how does it work? Most people, so I think some of our viewers may not be aware about how a AIF works. Okay. So can you just very quickly cover that? And,
yeah. So in AIF, Cat1 AIF, there's a venture fund and there's an angel fund.
Okay.
So we are an angel fund. A venture fund typically does not give you that option to choose where you invest. You just say, this is my money, 1 crore, that's the minimum amount for an VC. So 1 crore is I have committed to you. Now the VC decides where the money has to be invested. But with an angel fund, it's a discretionary fund. The investor has the discretion. So what we do is, because I come from a background, from TDB, I was connected to most of the incubators, science and technology incubators. So what typically we don't do is SaaS and consumer tech, because there are a lot of people doing that. Defense is one sector which we understand, which is close to my heart, because that's something which I've served in. I understand the requirements. So we decided to go into defense. So now what happens is the government has taken some amazing initiatives with DIO, as you were there, IDEX, right? There are certain good projects which can be backed.
So when you say that, everything is about mitigation of risk. So even if you're an angel investor, what's that saying? That fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So even as an angel investor, if you're trying to mitigate the risk, so would it be a good idea, for example, to go with the people who are already IDEX winners, where, there's some assurance of orders, where the procedures will be fast-tracked, because, the value of depth which you speak about, from developing a product to getting the orders. Now, if you see the amended DAP for the TDF cases or the IDEX cases, the timelines have been compressed, because as you mentioned, the government is doing quite a bit to encourage the startups. In fact, I always say there couldn't be a better time than today to be a startup in India.
Actually, had it not been the case, how many people who left 2 government jobs and starting on their own?
Okay, so do you give preference to the IDEX winners, or?
See, I give preference to something which I feel will work, which more than only a product company, I'm looking at a vision. I'm looking at a vision of a founder, because one product may not succeed. But if the founder has the caliber and the vision, and if it's already vetted by IDEX, I think it helps us.
So you bet on the person rather than the company. If the person is good,
person and the vision.
The vision.
and the vision. Vision becomes
The idea mainly.
yes, the idea, the vision, and the ability of the founder to execute. Because this is the portion. Because rest of the things are going to happen. Nobody.
So what would you say are the red flags for you when you're looking at a firm where you would say, this firm is avoidable?
Someone who doesn't have the vision clear.
Mhm.
He has not thought it through.
Mhm.
He is going by the numbers which are generally only available, and he just does a Google research and is not spoken to the actual stakeholders on ground, the guy who's going to use it, the customer, the paying customer.
Mhm.
Like this is something which I learned. I'd gone to MIT once as India ecosystem expert for evaluating the startups.
Mhm.
And there I realized the one thing which I really loved is the most important part for a startup is a paying customer.
Yes. Because finally, they're not in the business for fun. They're in the business for money.
If you have not spoken to a customer, you have absolutely no clue what he wants. It's all in your head. And even if your idea is brilliant, it may be amazing, but unless you have spoken to it, is there a need?
So as they say, the bottom line is the bottom line.
The bottom line.
Yes. Okay. So how about some of the, there are 3 founders in this. So can you tell me something else about the other founders as well? Because you've got a very strong team, is what I'm given to understand. From the 2 of you are from the Navy.
Yeah. So the idea was, like I said, to help a startup grow. So while I understand the vision, I understand the story, I am able to simply explain what a startup is doing, because a lot of them are tech founders. They're so much in love with the tech, they forget what the finance guy needs to know. So that's my part of the job, identifying and then evaluating.
So you focus on the technology.
Yes, I focus on the technology. Along with my other co-founder, Dr. Jyotsna Dalal, she was with me in Technology Development Board. We were a part of a team. We had, within us, we have evaluated more than 400, 500 companies. And we have...
So she focuses on the finances.
No, she focuses on basically the entire, the story, where the gaps. Both of us do that. It is the Karthik sir who comes into the... Commander Karthik Gopal, he was with logistics in the Navy. So supply chain, processes, finances, setting up of their, ERP systems if required. That is where he helps. That is where he guides.
And how about the use case? Because, finally, you may have a technology, but they visualize how that technology can be made into a product.
Yeah.
Is, I think, the most important part.
So that is a part of my job. And then I have a set of advisors.
Okay.
So the first screening is generally done by me. And once I like something and as a team we decide, it looks good, then we get our advisors in and then we go deep dive into this and see, does it actually make sense? Or to reach where we want to reach, what are the steps we need to take? Where are the landmines? How do we clear it?
Because most of the startups, if not all, are youngsters, So, which has its plus points and which also has its minus points. One is, of course, the enthusiasm of youth, and they're bubbling with enthusiasm. It's always great. You feel energized when you meet the startups.
Absolutely.
And yet, at the same time, in the exuberance of youth, they sometimes need to be, reined in and told that do not get into too many things too fast. Focus on one.
Yeah. True, sir. But I believe, as a team, what we look at is more of guidance than actually trying to tell him what he does, because he knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing. If he doesn't know, then there's no point of you investing into it. So once we have decided that he knows what he's doing, the only thing is we can tell him the red flags. We can tell him, see, look at it. This is something which is going to deviate you from what you're doing. But if you still feel and you can convince us, please go ahead. Because while we have the experience, we only make sure that, when you're raising a child, you give them a certain leeway. If you don't give them the leeway, they don't grow.
You kill the creativity in the child.
You have to allow that to happen within the certain framework, unless and until it is dangerous to their survival.
So the last question, if somebody does want to invest through you, or wants to become an angel investor, how do they contact you? Should they contact you through the Chakra Dialogues Foundation? I believe you are having an MOU with them. So would that be the right approach, or do they contact you directly? How does the journey start?
I think we are signing an MOU with Chakra Foundation because I think our visions align in a lot of ways, and they really add value to our ecosystem here. To reaching out to us, you can come through Chakra Foundation, or you can directly reach out to us. Either one works for us, and we'll be more than happy to have more investors, because I think this is India's story, which is unfolding right now. And I would love more people to be part of it because we are there at the international scene now, and there's no going back from here.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you here. And I can now understand why you named yourself the Jamwant Ventures, because much like Jamwant, who made Lord Hanuman realize his full potential, as you mentioned, you are helping the startups realize their full potential, and in which funding is an important part. It was great talking to you. And viewers, this was the first of our startup stories. We'll have many more of these. We shall be introducing you to the founders of some of the startups who are actually doing amazing work. If you like our channel, subscribe to it and share it. Help us spread the message. We will keep coming up with many more interesting podcasts. Thank you very much.
Pleasure being here, sir. Thank you.